Hey, it's on. My wife asked me if I was nervous before coming up here. I said, I'm not nervous, I've just developed this tremor going on. My name is Sam Holt. It's a great introduction, thank you very much. And anybody around Cardiff may also know me as something else. I'm also known as Sam the Chicken Man. And even in my student years, I got carried away with dressing up as a chicken. And I knew I'd made it when I was in the supermarket shopping away. And a little kid turned around the corner and instantly ran off and went, Mum, 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 come and meet Sam the Chicken Man. And I thought, that's it, retiring. Some days, people also think I look a little bit like Wurzel Gummidge. And if a kid's ever got a face paint near me, occasionally Aunt Sally too. So all I ask is don't judge me on what I look like, but judge me on the heart and the sort of the action and what we can achieve when working together. This is a snapshot into what I am and who I am. I am a social entrepreneur. I run a company called EggSeeds, and we deliver inspirational sort of outdoor education, connecting the community and people with the environment and activity. I run this with my wife, who's been my silent rock. She's hiding over there. And people that know me also know I'm pretty passionate about food and about growing community. It's led on to me getting amazing jobs. Like I've worked with Riverside Community Guard and managed it for 2.5 years. And now I've taken over from one of my inspirations, Emma Williams, as the new South East Wales Development Officer for the Federation of City Farms Community Gardens, trying to inspire and support people across the south east of Wales to develop growing projects in their own right. Why do I do all these things? Why do I juggle all these hats? Well, it's pretty much all came from my work that I've did with Cardiff Transition. And for people who don't know what the Transition Network is, I've kind of shared my way of explaining it. The hungry caterpillar. It's an absolutely brilliant way of explaining it. To me, humans and people are the caterpillar, and the story is that we're sort of born out. We start eating a few things. We're affected by marketing and the people around us, the smells, the activity, our community. And we keep on going and eating and eating and eating. And oil's made it easier. The marketing's made it easier to go, oh, I want this, I want that. And it's not about happiness or fulfillment. It's more about sometimes just because that's what I think I want. Or that's what people tell me. Or that's what somebody else has got, so I must want it. That's pretty cool. But at some point, the caterpillar is eating all these things. And just before the end, it stops and goes, actually, you know what? I need to change. I can't go on like this. And at that point, it forms a cocoon and it stops. It liquefies itself and it starts changing and trying to become something different. And then when it hatches out, it's going to interact and become part of the environment in a new, different way. And to me, that's kind of the period of transition. It's that period in which we don't know what the answer is. We don't know necessarily how to do it. But we're trying different things because we know we can't necessarily continue in society like this. And the transition movement is that. You're all part of the transition movement if you ever stopped and said, actually, we need to change. Doesn't matter how much you do, everything counts. And so the transition movement kind of has the thing of saying, like, we need to do more things. We need to try new things. We don't have the answers. But if we don't do it, it's going to be over for us. But if we do it on our own, we might not get there. But what they also say is then, if we do it together, it might be just enough, just in time. I'm going to move on in 1 second. Oh. So I took this to heart, and I didn't know how to phrase it. And then suddenly I started saying, oh, I really want to be that change I want to see happening in my community. Gandhi put it so much better. Be the change you want to see in the world. Now, how did I do that? I kind of found out that I was doing all those juggling, all those different hats, and I found out suddenly I was connecting organisations, making them think in a different way, saying, look, I'm kind of like the mortar within the social wall out there. I kind of like my way of describing it in the pictures, because that's how my brain works. And I wasn't like an expert in anything. I wasn't standing out in any way, but I was connecting people. I was making them think about sharing resources, not necessarily just chasing funding, chasing a job, but actually using each other's resources, not trying to reinvent the wheel. Stop sort of thinking about the sort of selfish things we wanted and start focusing on the community. Another way was thinking of it in my sort of gardening sense, as the community in the world is kind of like the soil that supports the plant. You think a plant just grows and everything like that, but actually at the roots of the plant it's giving a lot back into the soil. And without the community supporting that plant and giving it the nutrients it needs, that plant won't be healthy, so we wouldn't be healthy in our growing. But again, that soil won't be healthy without giving a bit back. So I find focusing on the community, actually the community supports me in everything that I do and makes me happy. I love what I do. I do what I can, when I can, for however long I can to support the community, because I know at the end of the day, that community is supporting me to be who I am. And have you ever noticed, if you're ever working with someone who's pretty passionate about what they do, it's inspiring. You can't help but feed off it, the energy. You suddenly feel everything's a bit more possible when you're around someone with a bit of passion. And that makes everything plausible, and you think, I can do that, I can give that a go. And I found by sort of doing activity with people and running workshops with them and giving them a chance to sort of spend time around me, I can inspire them and share heart, skills, knowledge, and impart that with them. And I find sometimes when you're doing activity, people listen more without actually hearing. You're not talking at them, you're not telling them what to do, but they're taking in everything you're saying, everything you're doing. I've also found, you can teach them a lot just by being alongside them, especially teenage boys. I've just recently found out, don't give them eye contact. Be alongside them. They suddenly do a lot more. And they take in a lot more. They don't feel so pressured. Making people feel safe in an environment with you really gets the best out of them. I'm always learning from every interaction I have. Every one of you I've sort of met or watched today, I'm learning something from. And I'll go on learning from that. So I'm going to get a bit of my confidence back by showing you some of the things I do and talking through it, and hopefully not running out of time. So I found transforming spaces. Hey, it's got a pointer. Woohoo! Taking derelict land and turning it into a beautiful Jubilee garden with all of these people. They loved it. We took waste land and turned it into something to celebrate around. Working with high-end academics, getting them out there digging. You got more out of it. They suddenly got all creative and they loved it. And in fact, some of them turned out onto the community garden that I ended up working on. People really get inspired by turning their community into a more beautiful, growing space. And this university celebration, we transformed a boring archway down at the atrium into a growing platform. And this was all done with volunteers who had no real engineering experience, but we worked it out. We worked out the problems in a very safe and health and safety conscious way. And it was planted up as their end-of-year sort of celebration, which was brilliant. People love changing and being like they have a part of where they live, and they have an ability to interact with it. And this is turning in a community garden in Ely. People and the kids of all ages came together, may not already interact, but they love the opportunity to meet new people, to do new things under a little bit of guidance. They love coming back. It's turned into a regular gardening session now every Thursday. So people really do get inspired to develop their own space. Running a community garden. This is magic. This is gold dust. We've got some community gardeners in the room with us today. Plasnarev Community Garden. They got a lovely spot. I used to manage Riverside Community Garden, and I want to know, and I want to ask the question to you, why aren't we utilising these community gardens in our health service? What happens on a community garden is magic. I've seen more development in change and more people able to deal with isolation, depression, anxiety, drug and alcohol issues, disability on a community garden by meeting other people. Maybe it's because they feel safe there. Maybe it's because everybody thinks, hey, it's gardening. We're going to be doing a bit of weeding, or it's probably going to be a bit of manure at some point. That they come along. But when they get there, very, very little weeding on my garden. It was more about what can we do, what can we create, how can I inspire them to do a little bit more in their lives and get connected with all the other unusual people that turned up. We had a quite unique garden. People came from all walks of life. We worked with people from young age up to the retirement age, and as I say, they came from all sort of problems. It's a magical place, and you can do wonders from community gardens. So anybody out there, we've got to ask the question, why aren't we using them more in our health service? Brilliant. This was an amazing project. This was a transplantable project. We got a chance to work with an international arts collective. They asked me, could you help us grow a stage? I went, hey, that's a bit bonkers. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. I said, I've managed a community garden. These guys will be well up for it. I got people there. I got an ex-trucker. Where is he? Up there, Mark. He was going through a bad patch. He wasn't being a trucker anymore. He was run right down on his luck. And something inspired him to make a comment one time in a meeting. And suddenly he became the lead build on this. We found skills that this guy hadn't even told us about. And suddenly he came out of his shell. He had the chief procurement guy for the Welsh Theatre, forgive me if I got the name wrong. He came down personally in the world stage design competition to say, who's this Mark Tourette? I want to go over and meet him. This is fantastic. And he got a personal recommendation from this top guy. And it meant the world to him, a proper tear to his eye kind of moment. But we were open to these kinds of activities and opportunities, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, engaging the community. I also like to think that, age, disability is not a barrier to do activity. You just have to open your mind and think, hey, how can I solve that problem? How can I get little kids building planters? Get the right tools. That's a good place to start. I've got 2-year-olds now. I'm doing hatching projects with Flying Start, which deal with nursery. It's amazing to see that 2-year-olds are better handling animals than I am, that they get more out of it. When a kid came up to me and told me about the incubator project that she was doing, I was thinking, last week you didn't even talk to me. This is amazing, and it was a way of engaging parents into it as well, into settings like that. And yeah, occasionally I press the wrong button. I get into trouble as young kids get covered in blackboard paint, and I'm left there to try and deal with it. But the opportunity to engage people in education is only as good as the person can come up with solutions to make sure it's accessible to them. And some days, I'm actually a teacher. I'm out in secondary schools working with First Campus, trying to get the youth to think about their neighbourhood, engaging back with their neighbourhood and looking at it in a different way about, hey, can we grow food here? And if so, how? We were making videos and iBooks and everything about it. Absolute brilliant project. Other days, I'm out on the school farm. This one, I just watched this calf being born. Absolutely magical. The kids will never forget it. And it's brilliant to say that I get to do such diverse range of things. We've even got schools keeping chickens and ducks in their school setting now. That's a lifelong lesson there for those kids. They're learning responsibility. They're learning how to sort of interact with nature. They're seeing it firsthand, where our food comes from. And that's one of the missing skills, or missing faults that I find in society. There's no valuing about where our food comes from. People seem to don't stop and sort of take in the importance of our farmers and about knowing how to grow our own food. What happens when it runs out or we can't get it from abroad? Some of the other magical things I get to do. I've been running animal shows and fairs like this. The inner child that comes out of people when you've got a duck in the place. People are like, oh, I want to hold it. Brilliant, come in, that's what we do. Exactly, interacting with people. This is lifelong memories being created here. None of these pictures are staged. These are just people wanting to be involved. In my first year of business, I got to be in Cardiff Castle working with Clark Farm. We had emus, alpacas, micropigs, rheas. I didn't even know what a rhea was. It's like a small version of an emu, ostrich, emu, rhea. Absolutely brilliant. We got people handling animals for the first time ever going, this is amazing, this is fantastic. And we got to do that in our first year. I was an absolute privilege to do that. Resourcefulness. That's what this slide's all about. I love showing people how to interact with their sort of neighborhoods in a different way. I love people showing how you can recycle and use materials in a different way. But it's not just about that. It's about learning new skills and tools. In some of these workshops I've ran, people have never held a tool before and never done anything. I got the skills and confidence from my dad. As a kid, he rebuilt a house. He didn't know how to do it. He just taught himself how. And I was watching him do this. The biggest memory I've got is not the house. It was he built a shed out of doors. As a kid, I was like, can I open them? I didn't know how he did it, but forever he's learning new skills. He took Christmas off one year from coming down to see us. I was like, Dad, you can't do that. He goes, I've just bought 2 books. What are you doing with those 2 books? They better be a good read. He goes, HTML5. He rang me up the next day, he goes, I've rebuilt your website. I don't know how he does it, but he's inspired me every day to sort of pick up and learn new skills. Here we're building edible fences. We're taking pallets and building benches, garden furniture. These kids came up to me and go, Sam, what are we going to do today? Can we build a birdhouse? I goes, I've never built one before. I've never done a table. I went, what have we got? I said, oh, I've got a hammer. We're going to take some nails out of those pallets. Yeah, all right, then let's do it. They came out with the design. we just cracked on and had a go. It's amazing what you can do. It's amazing what's out there in your neighborhoods to use. I love getting people growing. So I come at it from any different angle I can. Here, in fact, I'm pointing at it with my own eyes, I use beer. People love beer, or those who love beer love the idea that I've got. I get people growing dwarf hops in a city. The idea wasn't mine, I just got to use it. Now we grow dwarf hops in a city, we make our own green hop ale using a local microbrewery. That's genius, because not only am I getting people growing, doing craft with the leftover hops, we're also creating and supporting a local economy. And now with the British Hops Association, they're behind it, we're going to become part of the sellers group and get wholesalers in. We're going to create a Welsh hop industry, not on my own, by the way, using Horticulture Wales and other people. But I've inspired 140 growers now, our third year in. We've gone from 100 litres, and now up this year, we're going up to 1,000 litres of green hop ale, called a Taft Temperature, if anyone wants to try it, sold by Pipes. Also, potatoes. Oh, my word, I'm way over time. Potatoes, a great way of getting people growing. Using something as simple as the humble spud. I've realised it's the gateway vegetable. Once people see something growing, they suddenly go, what else can I do? This is brilliant. Beans, peas, how about that? And we start doing it. And that community garden you saw in the Ely Hub, suddenly that came from people growing potatoes. And they said, we want to do more. Can you show us more? And we was like, well, why not? The space is there, let's start utilising it. And that's what Farm Cardiff's about. We map spaces with community about how can we use the space. Now we're moving into alleyways. But I realised I better move on. This isn't so important. This is about saying, I've been doing all this stuff, and suddenly I'm being asked to come and talk on panels. I've been asked to do TEDx. It's brilliant. I'm giving my advice to people, I'm sharing with it. I'm sitting next to academics, and it's quite refreshing, people say, to have somebody who's coming out with just heart and passion, doesn't mind asking the stupid questions in the room that they all want to ask, but no one wants to do it. But I'm going to try and do this in 46 seconds. Never done it before. I didn't just come from this, though. It took a long time for me to get there. I came to Cardiff as a med school student. I was pretty proud. These hands have delivered 8 babies. I've been involved in people's miracles in their lives. I've been involved in the saddest moments. But med school wasn't all for me. I started suffering with moderate grade arthritis at 21. I started having chronic depression, and with it, the stresses and strains, I started forgetting things. I forgot my friends' names, and I realized this was a problem. So I sought help, found I was dyslexic in my 4th year of med school. Suddenly thought, need to do all this new stuff. I haven't got time, never going to learn it. But I started spending more time on the garden, and that was my secret cure. That's what the article's all about. It wasn't the medication, it wasn't doing anything for me, but spending time on the garden was what calmed me down, helped me with my depression. So much so that I was about to go back to med school until they suddenly went, oh, you can't come back, you can't finish your course inside the political sort of time frame or the paper time frame that we tell you can. Sorry, here's a certificate, good luck. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was going to be a doctor, I really want to help people. And so I went and got other graduate jobs. I did a few other things. And then I'd say one fortunate thing, but it wasn't really. My wife over there, she got diagnosed with Crohn's disease. It's a horrible disease, and she fights every day with it. And I'm impressed by her, and she inspires me dealing with such a horrible disease. But it gave me the time. I took time off of work to care for her. Not that I did a very good job, because I suddenly felt helpless, and I didn't know what to do. My depression was coming back, and I was really on my arse. And I was like, I got to get to the allotment, I need to cope. So I went outside, and it was gardening that saved me. And I went out there and I started helping more people, and it made me feel better. I was like, this is great. Helping people makes me feel good. So then I started working with Riverside Community Garden. And that just went on and on and on. I was sort of supporting 200 volunteers for over 6,000 hours. It was amazing. 5 minutes over. And what happened from that? What really changed my depression? Because it kept spiraling back down. It kept hitting me back down. But what changed was suddenly the belief that people gave me. I was nominated for Green Volunteer of the Year under the WCVA Awards, which I won. And in the very same week, some enterprise ideas that I kind of had when I was at the garden and trialled, I got an award from Unlimited to support me setting up my own business. And I suddenly had all this in 1 week. I suddenly went from rock bottom to go, people value me. I believe in myself. And it's just spiraled from that. I've gone on to win Inspiring Tutor of the Year under NIAS. I was like, what? This is mega. But it's hearing what people say, the effect I've had on them. It's really humbling. And I cannot say it enough. It's magical. You know, knowing that what you do has a difference in their lives is magical. So because I'm overrun, I've cut that a little bit short. But what I really want to say here is find your passion. And then that will inspire your world. Don't feel guilty if you can't do so much. Do what you can, as much as you can, whenever you can. And it's going to mean a lot to your community and your world. Thank you very much.